a very good morning, sir. So the participants are joining. So can we just wait for 5 minutes till they join and then we can start the session? Thank you, sir.
Very good morning, sir. Sir, you are on mute.
Good morning, HOD ma'am. I'm audible now?
Yes, sir.
Great leadership of Adamas University, School of Media and Communication.
Thank you, sir. Sir, please do visit once more whenever you get time.
Sure, my pleasure. And this time I also invite you, your team in my university.
Sure, sir.
Ishita, I also want to suggest this book.
Yes, sir, definitely.
Along with Dominic and Arthur Sabarja. Arthur Sabarja,
Yes.
I already mentioned in my lecture and deliberation, but along
Sure.
with suggests the book, The Introducing Research Methodology, this book.
Yes, sir. So once we start the session and you can definitely suggest.
Yes, this is just formal talk with Shahid is there.
Yeah, I know that this is going to be helpful for everybody.
This is a very formal discussion that in this book, Shayok Ipshita, the chapter number 14.
Good morning, sir.
Very good morning. The chapter number 14, that chapter reads the writing of research and using the results of fascinating observations of theirs.
Yes, sir. You were talking about during the inaugural session as well.
Definitely, Arthur Sabarja nicely defined, but there are some changes in case of inductive and the deductive conclusions. So the participant, the faculties, they can suggest, they can use this book.
So we are having a comment in the chat box. There is somebody who has written that who is author of that book. So can you please kindly share the name of the author?
Okay, it will be better I just write here, na?
Yes. And we will just wait for 3 more minutes and then we will officially start the session.
Sure.
Very good morning to one and all present here. Welcome to our faculty development program organized by the School of Media and Communication, Adamas University. Today we are here with an engaging session that looks forward to the concluding part of our research. So there is a famous quote by Helen Keller that says that people do not like to think. If one thinks, one must reach conclusions. Conclusions are not always pleasant. And today we have Dr. Rajesh Dash, sir, as our honorable speaker, who is going to enlighten us about conclusion. So, of course, sir does not need any introduction for us because he is already my teacher. But for the participants, Dr. Rajesh Dash is the in charge of the Department of Mass Communication, University of Burdwan, West Bengal. He has done his PhD work in health communication and has also worked as the principal investigator in a major research project funded by ICSSR Impress, Ministry of Education. Dr. Das had also acted as a collaborator in 4 consecutive research projects with the Indian Institute of Mass Communication, New Delhi. He has published over 37 research papers, including in SCOPUS and UGC Care Index journals, and has presented over 90 research papers in national, international seminars and conferences. If we talk about research, then not like he has not only focused on health communication. There are other domains, like sir has worked in the domain of film, in political communication. Even there are scholars who are working under, like, who are doing their PhD under sir in corporate communication, and even in the use of music in communication. So there are different kind of research that he is interested into, and I think that today he will be the right person who can guide us. How can we conclude a research? So whatever the research topic is, but how can we come to the conclusion once the analysis is done? We welcome you, sir. And
Thank you, Shita.
Yes, and sir, the session is open for you. Thank you, sir.
So very good morning, and it was 10th July, and in our inaugural program, Nobina Madam and the entire team of Adamas University, convener and the co-convener, were present there. And Nobina Madam nicely explained the schematic structure of this present faculty development program conducted by the School of Media and Communication, Adamas University. Speaking truly, it was a very well-defined, balanced structure approach in this faculty development program. The program is going on. And in my inaugural speech, I am requesting all of the respected faculty members and the participants in this faculty development program that to make it completely fulfill outcomes, each and every faculty development program has its own objectives and followed by the outcomes. So better each and every participant try to articulate, try to define, or try to design an imaginary research problem. And based on these research problem, they could build up a design, the review of literature. This is again want to say this is the heartline soul of any research construction, the review of literature. And finally, based on these, a tentative conclusion can be made. So that was my suggestions. So in this outset, good morning all of the faculty members of Adamas School of Communication, the beloved convener, the co-conveners, respected HOD ma'am, and the entire team members, the other non-teaching staff, each and every members, and the faculty, and the participant in this faculty development program. So before starting this discussion and the PowerPoint presentation, I want to say 2 things. That is the whole PowerPoint presentation based on 3 consecutive books. One is Flake, number 1, number 2, Dominic, and number 3, 2 volumes of Arthur Savarjar. So the baseline developed after Arthur Savarjar, then some inputs, considering the changing scenario of communication research, the media research, or etc. I want to add some inputs from the flick. So this is the bottom line of the lecture, number one. And number two, it's more than 2 hours lecture. So it will be better after completing one phase, we'll offer a very small assignment. So based on assignment, we'll go to the question answer session and followed by the second phase of deliberation or the PowerPoint. So it's my suggestion, the participant, they could add their observation or their suggestion, how we'll continue this lecture. But keep in mind, it's in more than 2 hours. So make it a more interactive, more question answer session, and some assignment basis. Before starting this PowerPoint, just I want to listen just one or two sentences from each participant, from which college or institute or stream or area they could mention. So just now over to our participant and share one or two sentences. I hope this enough to introduce himself and herself. Please.
So we would request all the participants to kindly either unmute yourself and share about you, or you can write it in the chat box.
Better
So
unmute. Better unmute.
Okay. So please unmute yourself and you can share a little bit about you so that we can make this session more interactive as we are reaching out to the conclusion. Please.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, sir. This is Kesha Vivek. Though my profile shows Asmita, I think there's a glitch in the system that I'm using. I'm from Hyderabad. I teach in St. Joseph's College. So I've been teaching mass communication for some time, but I'm not from a mass communication background to begin with. I work
Thank
in
you so
management.
much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Better Ripshita, you can contact the name of, you can call the name of participants so that they could introduce himself or herself accordingly.
Sure, sir. So we have on screen Pritha Mishra. So Pritha, are you there?
Yes, I'm there. So a very good morning, sir. This is Pritha Mishra.
Yeah, she's my own direct student in
Yes,
my university.
I am
And
also
she's from
yes.
Bardhaman University School of Mass Communication. Thank
Yes,
you, Pritha.
I luckily say that Dr. Rajesh Dash is my teacher in
Okay, done,
Pritha.
Yes, okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Then
Thank you, sir.
First.
Yes, sir. Now we have Akriti Taneja. So are you there, ma'am?
Yes, I am here. I am Akriti Taneja. I am pursuing a PhD from IGNU in the field of children and media.
Thank you, ma'am.
Next, we have Ashwini. Sir or ma'am, are you there? If you can kindly unmute.
Hello, good morning, everyone present here. I'm Ashwini.
Ashwini, madam, we can't.
Yes, perhaps your actually voice is breaking. Can you write it in the chat box, perhaps, because you're not audible properly. But thank you for unmuting and thank you. Next, we have Ayush Anand. So, sir, are you there? And you can find.
Yes, ma'am. Good morning, all of you. I am Ayush Anand. I am a research scholar from the Department of Mass Communication and Media from Central University of South Bihar. And I'm currently pursuing my research in development communication.
Very good.
Next, we have Bindu Sawant. Ma'am or sir, if you are there, can you please kindly unmute and share?
Yeah, very good morning to all of you. It's a pleasure to be a part of this FDP program, firstly. Well, I'm doing my PhD program from Symbiosis International University and specializing in HR.
So, ma'am, your area is HR, or you try to elaborate a relationship between HR or corporate or HR or CSR, anything?
No, my specialty is in emerging technologies, and I'm correlating with HRD, learning and development specifically.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Well,
thank you so much. Next, we have Brinda D. So, can you please kindly unmute?
Yeah, good morning, everyone.
Good morning, ma'am.
Very happy to be part of this FDP. And I'm pursuing my PhD at PSG College of Arts and Science, Department of Communication from Coimbatore. So my PhD area is women and environmental communication.
Human and?
Women.
Yeah.
Women and environment communication.
Environment.
Yes, environment communication.
So you already awarded, or ma'am is?
No, I'm pursuing.
Going on.
It's going on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Datta. Ma'am, if you're there, can you please kindly unmute and share?
Okay, if you the next. Yeah.
Yes. Next, we have Jagrup Singh. So, sir, kindly unmute and share.
Next.
Yeah, sir, actually, you have unmuted, but we are not able to hear you. So you can write it in the text box. Next, we have Keshav Vivek. So, sir, kindly unmute and share.
Well, I have already introduced myself. The problem is my profile is coming up with Asmita. Okay, I don't know. There's some glitch in the system. I'm from Hyderabad. I have not started my PhD. I have applied, but I'm trying to learn a little bit about ethnography and methods. That's why I joined the FDP. It has been a great experience. Thank you for all the help.
It's okay. It's okay, sir.
Okay,
sir, it's okay.
Thank you. Next, we have Parmita Dhar. Ma'am, please unmute yourself.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, ma'am. I think I'm audible. I'm Parmita, and I'm a business communication and soft skills trainer by profession. And I'm pursuing my PhD from Adamas University in the area of community radio, sir.
Very good. So, ma'am, you mentioned the business communication. This is your specialization.
Sir, I am a business communication trainer. Yes.
Okay, business trainer. Okay. And doing your PhD in the area of community radio.
Yes, sir.
Okay, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Next, we have Rajat Bandyopadhyay, sir. Rajat, sir, are you there? Please unmute and share. Okay, we can't hear from Rajat, sir. We can move on to the next person. Next is Rajeshwari N. So, ma'am, are you there? Can you please unmute and share?
Next.
Yeah. Next, we have Shoman Dash. So, sir, are you there? And please, if you can share. Okay, he has already, so Professor Shoman Das, so he has already written in the chat box. So I'll read it out. But before that, we will move on to the next person. It is Shudha Ravi Shankar. So, ma'am, if you are there, please kindly unmute and share.
Next.
Okay, so it's done. Other than that, there are faculty members from our team only. Swati ma'am, Shayok.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Convener, Ipshita, Shayok, and the entire team.
Yeah.
So, just I want to know the one participant. She uttered that she doing her PhD from IGNOU. What was her name? What is the name of the participant?
I am pursuing my PhD from IGNOU, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Your name, please.
I am Akriti Taneja.
Okay. So, ma'am, you doing your PhD in the children and media, no? Children and media.
Yes, sir.
So actually,
yes.
Now we'll start. So I am requesting to unmute Shini ma'am. Number one. Another was development communication. He's from Central University of Bihar, and Brinda ma'am probably, and her topic or area is women and environment, and last one Parmita ma'am, the community radio. So I'm just want to know from all of you, all four, that just try to define the basic objectives of your area. It's a very interesting, the 4 consecutive topic, community radio, women and environment, on development communication and children and media. Just I want to know from you the basic objectives of your area.
So the research objective of my area is to understand the digital practices of adolescents on online media, on digital media platforms, with regard to how do they engage in creative production online.
So what is the definition of digital media in your research, ma'am? Is the very important.
Yes. So in my area, I am defining digital media as social media platforms specifically. So Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. That
So
is how I'm
Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and
YouTube.
YouTube. Okay. So it's a very
It,
broad.
but although it also includes spaces like coding and so every sort of digital practice is what I'm trying to cover, but I'm restricting my audience to
my
adolescents.
last question from you, whether it will be an inductive approach reasoning or the deductive reasoning.
It's an inductive approach reasoning at the moment.
And thank you. Actually, these are very relevant regarding our conclusion part.
Right.
And thank you, ma'am. And the development communication, sir, you from Central University of Bihar.
Hello, sir.
Yes, sir.
So in my research, I'm trying to see the applicability of a methodology that is participatory rural communication appraisal, and that too for the empowerment of the people in the area of IYCF health literacy. The
So
technical term IYCF,
sir, just
participatory rural
PRA.
Rural communicate PRCA.
Okay, and and the empowerment of this rural community.
In the area of IYCF health literacy, that is
that is the domain of your research. Domain of research. So, what's your independent variables and the tentative outcome variables?
My independent variables are actually, it is a very unique type of research, and I haven't defined my variables yet, because in this is basically a qualitative research in which I will answer some research questions post research, and there are some quantitative features also, but that is all a part of that PRCA methodology that I have adopted from someone named as Sufyan Mepalupallu, 2009. So
thank you, sir. And the third topic was the community radio. So Paramita madam, it was Paramita madam, what's the bottom line or the topic of your research?
Sir, actually, my research is at a very preliminary stage, but what I have set to do is like the challenges and opportunities of community radios of West Bengal in the onset of the digital media, how digital media is posing challenges and opportunities to community radio. That's what I'm going to study.
Ma'am, please again,
Yes.
you mentioned that the area of research.
Sir, my area of study is challenges and opportunities of selected radio station, community radio stations of West Bengal, keeping in mind the impact of digital media.
Okay.
Hello.
Keeping in mind the digital media.
Yes.
So, which station you already have selected for this for your research work? Which community radio stations?
Sir, so I have selected Radio Milan, which is in Jhargram. Then the Purulia Community Radio Station.
Nityananda.
Persia College of Persia College. Yes, in Sonada and Shiliguri.
And in Purulia, it is the Puncha village, I hope.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Nityananda Janavani Radio Center.
Nityananda Janavani. Yes, sir. That is it.
Radio Center. Yes.
Also, I will be taking Radio Jadavpur.
But yes, but it's my own observation, madam, because it is related with your review of literature, the objective and the conclusion. The ecology of the community radio and the ecology of digital media is quite different. But being a researcher, you are the right person. You know how could you compare. That is in case of just one or two inputs I want to add here. In case of your research, what is the bottom line concept? The community radio literacy or the community radio advocacy?
Sir, I think, if I'm not wrong, it is the advocacy because, sir, from a common man's point of view, if I see
Very good.
the,
Very good.
the attractiveness of this digital media, the instantaneous nature, and the
Very good,
kind of
nice.
entertainment that they offer has an impact on the kind of program we have on community radio. Those are like very easily accessible and attractive. So, sir, just
So,
as I had been
so
guided by.
who will be your community for your research?
Sir, the listeners of this particular radio stations, as well as the stakeholders.
Stakeholders, the stakeholders.
Right, like the station, the people who runs those community radio stations. I will be doing an in-depth interview with them as well, sir.
Okay, thank you. So we may start now.
Sir, I just want to get a feedback from you. Or do you think I'm in the right line of approach?
Yeah, definitely. Your research definitely focus over on the community radio advocacy. So immediately, and you rightly select your community, that is the audiences of the community radio in Nityananda Janabani Center or the Milan Radio or the Jadavpur. But one important question, the defined community according to research design, the villagers or the regular listeners of the Nityananda Janabani Radio Center in Puncha village, Purulia, they are, I don't know how much they are able to consume the digital media. So one part is the digital media or the digital communication, the social media. I don't know the degree of penetration of digital media in Puncha village.
Okay.
Otherwise, everything is very good. The mode of advocacy communication through community radio and the definition of the community, these are well defined. But one confusion is a comparative statement between the community radio and the digital media, because the ecology of these two media niche is completely different. So better you discuss with your supervisor whether you include the digital media or the social media over on the community radio, or you want to stick over on the new advocacy policy practiced by the selected community radio in West Bengal, like Nityananda, Jadavpur, and the Milan radio. It's my perception or observation. So, Ipshita, can you share this, the PPT?
Sure, sir. I will share the screen and I'll share it. Definitely.
Make it full screen, na?
So is it now visible?
Yes, it's visible, and thank you so much
My
for
pleasure.
technical support. Thank you. Go to the first. No, this is go to the second, the next slide. Yes. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. You're audible.
One problem is for the screen.
Sir, tell me what happened.
I'm unable to see the PPT in my screen, in my laptop.
Okay, so can other participants see this PPT?
Yes, yes, we can see.
Yes, we can.
Okay, sir, I think you are on spotlight, which is why you cannot see. Mm, I'll just check what we do. One
It's
second.
okay. If it is okay, I know the.
Yes, sir, this is your PPT. So,
Okay. So good morning again. And today we're going to discuss a topic. That topic tries to explore the mechanism, the typography of research conclusion for any research writing. In case of social science, all we know, each and every perspective has its own derivation point. And what is this? The derivation of conclusion after Arthur Savager starts from its review of literature. This is a very important thing. Professor Barger, in his book, probably the name of book, Qualitative Research Design, he pointed out a beautiful paradigm that abbreviated as SALSA. What is SALSA? SALSA is a systematic, methodological, and argumentative pathway for to analyze a framework. What is the review of literature? Already we define a tentative problem, and based on some selected research article, either from Google Scholar or the other research repository pool or etc., we'll try to establish some evidence-based research work. Why? Number one, to point out our relevance, importance of the research program, research paper, research problem, and what is or what are the existing gap on that defined variables. All we know that in each and every research paper, there is the independent variable and followed by the outcome variables. Professor Barger actually, he explored this kind of fascinating pathway. And this pathway help us to define an analytical observation of existing review of literature. So I personally believe the conclusion of any research paper in specifically is directly linked with from the review of literature. And I am requesting all of you very carefully to try to develop your review of literature. There are different forms of review of literature: narrative, argumentative, theoretical, inductive review of literature, deductive review of literature, questionable review of literature, archival literature. So your research problem, according to your research problem, you should select your form of literature. And from the review of literature, we will get the two consecutive outputs. Number one, the relevance of the present study, and number two, what are the research gap of your concerned area. If you the second slide. This is the typology. This is a very common typology. Dominic and the other books you will available. The 3W1 each. Why, when, what, and finally how. You may consider these are 4 consecutive catalysts and nicely marked to form a holistic typology of the conclusion. First one, why. There are 2 characters. Why your research paper would be read by the editors as well as the other readers. But one important point here, over on the how, just read it. Restate your topic, restate your thesis statement, summarize, draw some significance of the major points, and finally discuss the future scope. So from review of literature, we'll try to articulate the conception of the basic, very basic conception of the typology. Come to next slide. Before going to start, next slide. Before going to start a discussion over on conclusion, we start with some negative approach. All we know that there is a common phenomenon, the collective do's and don'ts on any objective, on any institution, on any organization, etc. Instead of do's, here we start with don'ts. 2 or 3 points are very important. Number 1, in our conclusion, we never try to introduce any new idea or information. This is the most important point. And point number 3, it will be a very bad approach if any researcher try to introduce in his or conclusion part some unsupported claims or statement or data. Those are not explained or supported by any theoretical foundation or the primary data or the secondary data or the relevant quotation or etc. Conclusion, actually, Professor Dominic mentioned, it's a subjective observation, no doubt. That is beyond the topic. Already in our previous research work, the review of literature and the objective parts, the 5W1 each are settled. And this is our objective. But conclusion is to some subjective, no doubt. His, her opinion, observation, comments may be incorporated. But in the don't list, the last 1, 2, 3, the last point is being a researcher, he or she should be very careful to incorporate, to mention his, her own personal emotions. Maybe he, she, or they conducted a very emotional focus group discussion or participatory observational method. From these focus group interview or the participatory observational method, he or she can gather some persuasive element over on the selected variables. He or she can add, can remark, can mention in his her conclusion, but don't add his or personal emotion. Personal comments. It's a comment. Your comment should be covered, supported by data, quotation, text, previous research work, everything. It's not an editorial. It's not a letter to the editor. Instead of that, it's a conclusion of a research work, research paper. So these are the three important parts. Now, next slide. This is the basic bottom line. Review of literature, a simple linear typology, and some basic guidelines. So based on these, now we are going to discuss our research methodology. Research conclusion. Next slide. Research conclusion for research writing. So what is the ecology? What is the Venn diagram? The research writing. Within the research writing, there are some elements. One of the important catalyst or elements would be the research conclusion. So the first vein, in this diagram, the first vein would be the research writing. What is research writing? I am requesting to go the second para. It's an approach. It's an attempt, your research article, that will try to present some logical reasoning findings in a systematic manner. The specific research paper, maybe the women and in environment. Another very good topic is advocacy communication of the community radio in West Bengal, the fascinating paper 1 and 2. Another was the children and media. So these three research papers, this will contribute some new knowledge over on selected variables according to the research problem. It will help to provide some new information. And this knowledge or the structured information or everything based on evidence. This is the basic concept of research writing. Where do we want to go? Research conclusion. So our destination would be from research writing to research conclusion. This is our last stoppage. Between them, definitely, there are some other stations. And what are these? That means, next slide, that means, what are the key elements of the research paper? Next slide. So this is the checklist. This is the checklist. Point number 7, 6 and 7. Point number 6 and 7. The result, discussion, followed by the conclusion. Now come to our point, the research conclusion. So discussion, result and discussion followed by the conclusion. So what are the basic elements of conclusion? Now, basic element of conclusion in any research writing, research write-up? Findings. From the findings, concluding remarks. From concluding remarks to significance. Significance of any research paper. Better. I hope it will be in the next slide.
Sir, should I change the slide?
Yeah, better. I hope. Yes. Come to the elements. So from research paper to research conclusion through some defined stations. Our last destination would be the research conclusion. And research conclusion is one of the major elements under research writing. So come to the basic elements of research conclusions. Restatement, the word used by Dominic again and again. Restatement of your research problem. Then logical argumentation and implication. This implication, format of implication, nicely defined by in the ICSSR project. I want to quote them. They define in your conclusion, you should mention, this is the part of ICSSR project conclusion. In the research report, research writing maybe the research paper, maybe the research major report, maybe the PhD. So ICSSR in their guidelines, they mention the one para should define the implication of your research work, the research paper. And they nicely mention there are two consecutive parts under the implication of your present research. Over on policy making, over on social developments. So we have completed the second part. Number 1 was derivation. Number 2 was a relationship between the research writing and research conclusion. What are the common variables? The component of research writing and research conclusion. Next slide. How to write your research conclusion. In this book, in the Flake and Artharasa Bharcher, though it's the very old school Artharasa Bharcher, but again I want to mention Professor Bharcher mentioned that conclusion derived from a specific reasoning, that is the inductive or the deductive reasoning. Inductive approach or the deductive approach. So when you start your research writing, the research, you should mention the research design. That will include the research philosophy, whether it is the inductive or the deductive and so on. If you go through the inductive reasoning, accordingly, your review of literature would be design, analysis, findings, and conclusion. The same case for the deductive. So from that point of view, Professor Barger, he mentioned conclusion have its own origin or the pattern or a specific paradigm that reads as either inductive reasoning and the deductive reasoning. This is the another derivation of conclusion. First derivation was review of literature. Second derivation, inductive approach or the deductive approach. In case of inductive, hopefully all the faculty members, they are already discussing in previous classes that it's a journey from observation to development towards the theory. And second one, the deductive approach, a desperate aim to test over on some existing theory. So these two phrases nicely distinct the approach of research conclusion, whether it would be inductive approach over on conclusion or the deductive approach towards the conclusion. Being a researcher, in his or her paper, he or she try to establish or approach or any new theories, then or he or she tries to test some existing theories according to his or her research problem. So before starting your conclusion, after Asa Barger, you should be very alert whether it will be inductive reasoning conclusion or the deductive reasoning of conclusion. Next. This is the very just and graphical approach, and you can see this common approach from any Google site or etc. is not very much important. Just see. One is top down, another is bottom up. Just a graphical presentation. From theory to confirmation and or the rejection. Second one, from observation to build up the theory. Now come to next part. Slide number 11. Slide number 11. How to write the research conclusion based on the inductive, based on the deductive. This is the two way. Before starting it, I am requesting one or two participants just try to explain their research problem and the nature of problem, whether it is the inductive or the deductive. Any two, already 3 or 4, they interact. So any two of the participant, please unmute and tell us his or her research problem and which perspective they consider it will be an inductive approach and or the deductive approach. Then we'll come to the two consecutive slides, inductive conclusion and deductive conclusion. Before that, I'm requesting any two participants. Sir or ma'am, please. Any two participants, please.
Dear participants, please unmute yourself, any two of you, and please share if you are following an inductive research approach or a deductive research approach.
First, you mentioned the research problem and why they consider it would be an inductive approach and or the deductive approach.
So should I go ahead? This is Bindu.
Sure, ma'am. Please, your name, ma'am, please.
This is Bindu here.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, so actually I'm in a very initial phase of, chalking out my management for the research. So to the prima facie phase, I have stated my problem as how can I understand and identify the factors that influence the decision to use emerging technologies like metaverse, implying it to be significant, and how I can see it can be serving to the field of HR, specifically in the learning and development space. That is a statement of the problem.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, so what I can understand from my analogy so far, I think I should be going for the inductive approach.
Very good, very good. So ma'am, your inductive research design starts from through argue research question or the hypothesis. And why you consider it will be an argue based approach or the hypothesis? This is just a discussion, ma'am. Just a discussion.
So I'm going to start off with my research questions, because prima facie I will be having a questionnaire which is going to be circulated, and post that I will have a focus group discussion. So based on all the inputs, I will derive a theory. Am I right in the understanding?
Yes. Is okay. And yes, based on some theories. Any more?
Yeah, hello sir. Can I speak? Hello.
Yeah.
So, sir, I am looking at something called language revitalization through use of YouTube. It basically means that there are some people who are trying to revive their language, which is not frequently spoken within their family or within their community, by trying to teach the language through new media.
Hope it is the rhetorical study, I hope.
I am not very sure, sir. So, like, after looking at the theory, this is not exactly from mass communication. The theory is called linguistic citizenship. It comes from linguistics. So, what it says is, when governments do not support certain languages, like minority languages, they might be spoken by tribal groups, small groups of people, because they don't have the attention of the government.
Hope it is a qualitative research work, like
yes,
kind
exactly,
of
sir. So
yes, qualitative discourse or etc. Yes.
I think it will be inductive, sir, because I'm using ethnographic approach, looking at a small language and then like trying to generalize to a bigger language. So that is what I have as of now, sir. After what you told, this is what I would kind of frame it as. I'm not very sure, but this is how it looks to me.
Sir, it would be a deductive approach, I hope.
No, I'm saying inductive, sir. I'll start from observation and try to build a theory. But this is what, sir, I'm confused, because linguistic citizenship is there. It is there as a concept, like not associated to new media, but in general it is there. There is a concept called linguistic citizenship.
Concept is very new. Any participant or any faculty member from Adamas, they want to input anything, whether according to the research problem, whether it will be an inductive or the deductive. Too much. I hope it is the deductive, but any more observation, any from faculty members or the participants is a very new topic. So his topic would start from the argue or hypothesis, or premise by premise matching. Which one would be better? Anyone want to input anything? Even if Shita and the coordinator, etc., is a very new topic. And sir told that is a bit confused.
Sir, I would request the other participants, if you want to share something regarding this.
Yeah, I would be like happy for any kind of feedback. It would tell me, give me some clarity about what exactly it is going to pan out as. Like, can you just like jump in, sir?
Pardon, sir?
Yeah. No, I just wanted to add something, sir. What I'm trying to look is, I'm looking at one minority language. It is the Puruk language. I am taking that community and looking at how people of that community are using YouTube to teach each other their language, which is Puruk. And then maybe I try to generalize it to other tribal languages. Like I am looking at like in very rough fashion. I have just like submitted my research proposal. It has not been accepted anywhere as of now. I'm waiting for the university to get back to me. But this is what I'm looking at, sir. I don't know. I think it's inductive, but I'm not sure.
Okay, okay. We'll discuss later. Thank you, sir and ma'am. So from their discussion, two consecutive things nicely revealed. Number one, RQ-based, to some extent, the hypothesis-based conclusion, number one. And number two, premise versus premise, that kind of conclusion. If you want to go through RQ-based conclusion, if you want to establish hypothesis-based conclusion, then it will be an inductive conclusion. Next slide. If you establish or articulate your conclusion, some premise versus premise, the matching, the ball and socket relationship, then your conclusion would support some deductive approach. So research problem, from research review of literature to problem, from problem to analysis, analysis to conclusion, one common thing is very important, that whether it would be an inductive research approach, inductive research reasoning, and inductive research conclusion followed by deductive research approach, deductive research reasoning, and deductive research conclusion. It's very important. Is it clear at this point? Any confusion? Any confusion? Ifshita is here, Pritha is here. Any confusion?
No, sir, no confusion. It's clear.
Inductive reasoning, it supposes the inductive conclusion for any research paper or research project. In case of PhD, it is more vast and multifaceted. Instead of PhD, our discussion actually focused on the research writing. It's very narrow down. Whether PhD is very vast. If we consider the research writing, then being a research writer, he or she very concerned, very careful about the approach, reasoning, and conclusion. Either inductive route or deductive route, but you should mention some statistical data analysis, qualitative observation, or anything. But this is the most important thing in case of research writing, on conclusion. Next. Come to slide number 14.
Yes, I'm trying. Actually, I think my laughter has.
This is no issue.
Just this one.
No issue. Is no issue. Come to slide number 14. The research conclusion. What is research conclusion? It's a mirror image of research problem. And the research design. Research design, again, want to say the broad perspective, very broad perspective. The entire methodology and everything are nicely depicted there. So in case of research conclusion, I want to say the point number 2 and 3, that makes some recommendation for the future study. Number 1, and research conclusion is a research bed, a research space, a research orientation to maintain some success, some limitations, some suggestion and improvement. Point number 2 and 3 is very important. That is, research conclusion is a research bed, no doubt, a research niche that nicely articulate some recommendation for the further research along with the limitation, success, etc. Then outline. Next part. Outline. Or slide number 15. Outline of the research paper conclusion. Outline of the research paper conclusion. Before going to discuss this slide number 15, I am requesting one or two participants from here. They could read some questions on their existing review of literature. What is his or her or their findings over on their existing review of literature? Because going to summarize the main findings of any research paper conclusion, the review of literature, the resultant factors from the review of literature is very relevant. So I'm requesting just they can raise question, they can raise some discussions overall their review of literature, any significant outputs of their existing review of literature. Anyone? Anyone? For the research article, normally suggest the Google Scholar and you will get some important research paper on your topic. Sometimes someone suggests the Sodh Ganga or the InfluBNet, but research Google Scholar is the most significant and important source to conduct the existing review of literature. Again, I want to say that review of literature is very important because at last it will be better. Last in the inaugural session, it was already mentioned. It will be better you make the comparative study. We'll discuss at last. So again, want to say review of literature is the nutshell, the soul of any research paper. There are the two consecutive souls. One, review of literature. Two, methodology. These are the very important elements of any research writing. So if anyone want to discuss or raise any question on review of literature, mainly his or her findings, then it will be better to discuss this slide number 14, 15 and so on. Anyone?
Sir, there is a comment in the chat box. So one of the participants has asked if you could repeat the question. So sir has already told the question once again. So if you just want, I can simplify it down as sir wants to know what were your major findings from your review of literature and what are the kind of questions that you had in your mind while doing your review of literature, and have you got answers to those questions after the review of literature? So this is the question that
just share, just share 2 or 3 findings from your review of literature. 2 or 3 major findings from your review of literature. Anyone? Which type, which form of review of literature you conducted? Number 1, whether it is a narrative or the or historical or archival or the theoretical review of literature, which kind of review of literature you have conducted, number 1, or any major 1 or 2 or 3 is enough. from your review of literature? Which kind of outputs, which kind of observation you gather from your existing review of literature? Anyone? Pritha? Or if
I conducted an explanatory research, sir, on my review of literature, and I conducted a systematic literature review
systematic
for my
literature.
PhD.
Thank you.
Yes. So in that, one of the most major findings that I found was that in the digital participatory practices amongst adolescents, identity markers play a big role, wherein age, gender, education, families' income, families' education matter quite a lot when it comes to their digital practices. Not just access, but the participation part of it as well.
Very good.
So that was one of the major findings, that there is a vast difference between participatory practices in global north, that is developed countries, and the global south, that are developing countries. So on the front of global north, it leans towards more of creative production, while in terms of global south, it's more of just browsing and scrolling for your homework for school. So it's more of related to formal education.
That is a systematic way. Yes, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So these were the two broad findings I'm still in the process of conducting my review of literature and analysis.
So, madam, you want to go towards the meta-analysis after SLR? That is systematic.
No, that's not an aim, so meta-analysis is not feasible at the moment.
So
maybe
you
in the
use
future,
the systematic
after my
literature
PhD.
review, that is the SLR paradigm, just to conduct
Yes.
your review of literature.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So SLR, here you use the SLR as the paradigm of to conduct the review of literature.
Yes, sir. Following a Prisma approach.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you so much. Anyone? Very good. Very good. Anyone? Is very good approach, the SLR process. And SLR is directly linked with the SALSA model. Is nicely linked with the SALSA model. SLR and the SALSA. It's a very co-linked. Anyone want to share?
Yeah, hello sir. I have put my observations in the chat box. Though there is a problem with what I am doing being related to linguistics. It is.
Oh, it's a linguistics, yes.
Yeah, it does have its what you call implications when it comes to mass communication, because people are trying to revive the language using media. But there are some concepts like there's something called linguistic purism. People think that saying a language is like trying to speak the pure language. However, when we go to linguistics, it is found out that linguistic purism is actually damaging to the language long-term survival, which we actually see in like people communicating about language or like language revival or speaking their mother tongue. The emphasis being
and
on.
Prisa, what about the other participants? Jagrup Singh, Keshav Vivek, Mr. Sudha Ravi Shankar,
Sir, I
Mr.
spoke to
Rajab Bangabadhyay, Mr. Shomen Das. Please input.
Dear participants, please kindly share what have you found from the review of literature?
Review of literature, because it is very important. It is very important. And madam nicely defined the SLR process, systematic literature of review.
Yes.
Yes, this is very important. And SLR is directly ball socket relation with the SALSA. Already we explained what is the SALSA. SALSA will help, whether it will be the inductive or the deductive. And from inductive reasoning and inductive research work, you directly come to your research conclusion. Either inductive research conclusion or the deductive research conclusion. It's the very defined. Madam, thank you so much. Your SLR process and approach was very good. So the Jagrup Singh or the Keshwar Vivek, Rajesh Shori ma'am, Shomen Das sir.
Yes, so actually Keshav Vivek sir has unmuted and talked just now.
And another topic was women and environment.
Yes, so there is also a comment from Ankita ma'am. So she has written that, sir, actually now I'm doing my PhD coursework classes. I've not started these parts.
Okay. not the PhD, any kind of research article, any kind of, maybe it is already published in any journal. He or she can mention from there.
Good morning, sir.
Sir, ma'am, please, ma'am.
Sir, I have started my PhD. We've just finished the coursework, but in the course of my initial literature review, I found that my topic is about a semiotic analysis of the book of the novel Ponniyin Selvan 1 and the adaptation studies for the movie PS1 and PS2. Now, when I did my initial literature review, I found that there wasn't any study done on the semiotics aspect. So I had decided to take that up. And since this movie was made recently, I have decided to do the adaptation study, which will help me understand how the whole thing has been done. And along with the adaptation, there will be some contribution of transmedia. Now, I have tried to make an SLR right now to a systematic study so that for each of the topics that I'm doing, I have enough material to review and put it across. So this is what my situation is as of now. I hope to learn more from what you have said and pursue my studies. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So now come to again, thank you participant for your interaction on review of literature. Now come to point, slide number it was, I hope. Ipshita, what is the slide? I hope 16 or 17 or 15. Forgot it. 15 number, na slide?
Yeah. Sir, it is outline for a research paper.
Outline 15, yes. Come to the, again, the research conclusion and come to concentrate over on the slide number 15. Slide number 15, from slide number 15, we'll try to offer some outline sketch that will help to build up an effective and holistic research conclusion, how to write. So in case of outline, point number 1, the summary. In case of the PhD, all we know, the conclusion demands individual summary from individual chapters. For research writing, if we go either slide number 7, yes, go to slide number 7, then we'll get, go to slide number 7, then you will get the body. Ipshita, go to slide number 7.
Yes, sir.
Slide number 7.
Just a minute, I'll stop screen sharing and then I'll do that once again.
Slide number 7. So point number 5, that is the body of the paper. The body of the paper. So it is slide number 7 first. Okay, it's okay. Otherwise, you come to slide number 15, no issue.
So is it now visible?
No. Okay, it's okay. If she come on slide number 15. Slide number 15, from the slide number 15, the basic outline of the research conclusion of the research writing. So first one is the summarize the main findings. Summarize of the main findings. And that summarize of the main findings, actually, you try to write some very briefly summarization of the main findings of your research, including any significant results or the discoveries made. Keep in mind, it will be an inductive approach or the deductive approach. When you try to write the summary, but the 3 or 4 or 5 sentence of the summary in your conclusion. Actually, conclusion, it make maximum 800 to 1000 words is enough. 800 words is enough to write, because 3 to 4000 or 4 to 5000 word limit for each and every research paper. So in that case, the total conclusion required maximum 800 to 1000 word. So in case of summary, you can use 100 words enough. that including the significant result or the any discovery or any major findings from your body. Body is the quote unquote, body is the part of your research paper. Already we mentioned the research paper, there are 6 to 7 number of elements, and one of the major element was the research body, like abstract is one of the major element, introduction is one of the major element, review of literature is one of the major element, followed by the research design. So you try to mention some basic major findings from your body of research writing. Then number 2, that was restate the research question and objective. It is better to formulate in a table. That's the table, objective O1, objective O2, objective O3, or RQ1, RQ2, the statement of RQ and or the statement of objectives. Against what's your findings? Against findings over on objectives and or findings over on RQ. It's a very clear-cut approach to the editors as well as the reader. The defined objective, defined RQ. Findings according to the RQ, findings according to the objectives. And point number 3, the implications. Discuss the implication of the findings and explain why the matter, including the practical application or not. Here I want to mention the ICSSR model. Just make a very short paragraph. That paragraph explore the implication of the finding, implication of this your research paper. And already we mentioned there are the 2 staircases for implications. Number 1, implication over on policy making, and implication on over on the social development, whether it can help for the social cohesion or not, or any kind of social development or not. That is the very short para regarding the implication. Next slide. Point slide number 16. Acknowledgement part is the limitations. And limitation followed by further scope of studies. Limitation followed, it will be point number 4. Instead of 1, it will be point number 4. And in last 3 to 4 or 5 lines, in the flick, the flick in his book, he mentioned it, the concluding statement. So what will be the conclusion? Is a very nice structure. First, summarize your findings from your research body. What is the research body? One of the major element under the research writing. Number 2, either make a para or offer a table. The content of the table. RQ, findings. Objective 1, O2, O3. What was the one stated O1? Previous, already you stated your objective. O2, O3, and your findings. Paragraph 3, in a very short paragraph, try to mention the implication of your findings. Implication over on either policy making approach and or social development. Para 4, what is the existing limitations and further scope of study. So para 1, para 2, para 3, and para 4. Lastly, from P1 to P4, your state cut concluding remarks. The concluding remarks. Conclude your final para with a statement that ties together the main points of the conclusion, research paper, and emphasize the significance. So para 5, from para 1 to 2 to 3 to 4, this is the sigma value of P1 to P4. Para 1 to para 4. So what is the para 5? the sigma value of para 1 to para 4. That is the outline of the conclusion for any research writing. Next, come to slide number 17. Slide 15 and 16, they help us what will be the schematic outline of the research conclusion writing for any research paper. They offer the copybook concept or some theoretical argument from different books or research papers. But 15 and 16 also demands how it will be more convincing to the journal authority, the editors, as well as the general readers of the publics. If you study the book, the play, so in chapter number 14, reads as writing up research and using result. And under this chapter, 2 consecutive subchapters are issues of writing, outlets of writing. I want to mention again, name of chapter, writing up research and using result. Name of subchapters, issues of writing, outlets of writing. These 2 subchapters help us a guideline how being a researcher, he or she will be able to offer a convincing conclusion. Convincing conclusion. Conclusion with argument, conclusion with persuasion also. To the journal authority, the editors group, or the readers. And these are the checklist. The most important point is 2, 3, and 5. Arrange the statistical analysis fact or the visual image is very important. And another point is add some persuasive elements if going to explain participatory observational method. Express personal reflections. Researcher can even talk about his or her own life experience regarding this research work. The storytelling methodology. The participatory observational methodology. And interpret this result in a new and the own way. Own way means is a kind of special rhetorical approach. Own way. Own means his or her. His or her justification. His or her argumental paradigm. So, if he or she, the researcher, would able to offer his her own argumentative paradigm, that will give a perspective that reads a very new approach, a fresh dimension. So how to convince? Some persuasive elements and some specific rhetorical dimensions. So 2 catalysts, that is persuasive elements, but keep in mind with proper logical approach, and some special rhetorical approach, 1 and 2, first bracket close, help you to offer a convincing conclusion. And already we mentioned a sketchy outline or the schematic representation of research conclusion. First, you try to develop your paradigm, the sketch based on some guidelines, and then wrap up some convincing elements. Next, slide number, I hope 18. Slide number 17, slide number 15 and 16 help us to offer a schematic paradigm, the structure. Slide number 17 help us to build up a logical wrap-up over on this schematic structure. Persuasion and some rhetorical elements. These are the two important elements that help us to build up these wrap-up. And slide number 18, it again focused on scope of rhetorical approach over on research writing. And these are the important part. Point number 3, use repetition, but with proper logical dimension. With proper logical dimension. Point number 3. So, any queries or anything here? On rhetorical part?
Sir, is it possible for you to showcase any of a paper that you have read in the recent past which has included all these kind of points so that it become a good reference for us to know?
It's a very nice question, but convener and co-convener want to say I'm extremely sorry to offer such kind of papers.
Just for us to view it actually.
I'll try if I get any kind of good paper from Google Scholar, then I'll send it to the convener or the co-convener within 1 day so that they could communicate this kind of paper. Actually, rhetorical part is very important. That is the point 2 and 3, the use repetition. Because repetition can be, you may consider repetition. I will try to search any paper that focus on that kind of rhetorical wrap up, the rhetorical conclusion. And repetition is logical repetition. Here repetition means the logical repetition. It can be very effective rhetorical tool that can help you to reinforce the all major at the key points. That is for that purpose, use repetitions. Use repetition. And point number 5, that point number 5 is use vivid imagery. Point number 5.
Yeah. So if possible, just share it with us. We really appreciate that. Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks.
It's a completely persuasive and emotional value. Point number 5. It can help bring the researcher to life and make it more memorable. More memorable. It's research is, again want to say, it's not an research conclusion is not only the objective, but also the subjective. For that purpose, point number 3, point number 5. Strong language, all we know, the strong language. The grammar or etc., the punctuation or etc. You can use the Grammarly or etc. But point number 3 and 5. The high degree of human emotion over on logical support, over on stated observation, over on stated research questions. That for a significant rhetorical approach would help to write an effective research conclusion. Next slide. Logical. All hopefully the conclusion itself demand a logical statement. These are the logical statement or logical. These are the important point. Just focused on point number 5. Provide a clear and concise summary. And slide number 15 and 16. It nicely stated what will be the staircase. Just go to, if possible, slide number, if possible, go to slide number 16.
Okay, sir, just a minute.
Yeah, just go to slide number 16. It's nicely co-linked. Everything is nicely co-linked. Just go to slide number 16 and read point number 5. What is point number 5? The concluding statement. And what is the concluding statement? Flick defined, conclude your final para with a statement that ties together the main points of the conclusion of your research paper and nicely emphasize its significance. It's after Flick. And this is the rooftop. There are the 4 consecutive staircase. And the rooftop named as the concluding statement after Flick. Now come to point slide number. What was the slide number? I hope 19. Just come to slide number 19. Slide number 19. What is the aim of this slide? To make a checklist. To make a checklist regarding logical conclusion. And what is the output of this slide? Provide a clear and the concise summary. How it derived? From slide number 15 and 16, observed by Flick. What is the motto of logical conclusion? Go to slide point number 2. Go to point number 2. Summarize the key findings in order. In order. Just go slides number 15 and 16. There are 4 consecutive staircases. That staircase provides in order. Summarize the key findings in order. So what are the significance of this staircase? To ensure the logical conclusion in slide 15 and 16. 5 consecutive stages are there. 4 are the staircase. Point number 5 is the sigma factor. That is the rooftop. Now, justify why they made up this kind of staircase. To ensure the findings in order. That is the logical transition. So conclusion number 1. Some guidelines. Some staircase. That was defined explained in slide 15 and 16. A defined and structured attempt to summarize the main findings from your research body. Conclusion means try to reset the research question and the objectives through the 2 wings. What are the defined objective? What are the defined research question? Followed by the findings over on RQ, findings over on objectives. and the significance. And the significance. Fourth para was further research study, the limitation or etc. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then try to wrap up. Why? To offer a convincing plate for your research writing. How will be able to convince? A logical persuasion, logical human emotion. Then second wrap up, some rhetorical support. Then the most important, make it logical. But you have already did it. Already submitted, already completed your logical transition through staircase and rooftop structure. That will help you to offer a logical transaction. Because you know what is the research conclusion. You know what the mean by research findings, how to write the research findings in order. And nicely you provide a very concise para that provide a clear, systematic and concise summary of your research work. The next slide or the last slide actually, if able, sometimes some journal groups. Already we mentioned it. You may make a table. What is your independent variable? What are your output variables? Variables and review of literatures. Variables of the findings. What is the importance? At a glance, you are able to prove why your research writing is very unique compared to the contemporary research approach or other research publications. You may practice it or not. In case of research report, it's a very important. Sometimes some research journal groups, they want this kind of comparative statement so that at a glance they could realize what are the new things on your stated variables and or the stated research problem. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. So if you allow, we can take a small break for 10 minutes. And after that, like 10 minutes later, we all will come back and I'll request all the participants to like be prepared for the question answer session. So
or in the meantime, 10 to 15 minutes, they could write here their question, anything.
Yes, of course.
But
if
Madam
you want, you can
raised
also write.
Madam raised a very relevant question that whether we'll be able to offer, will able to provide any good research article. That actually these are the copybook structure from different books, ma'am. It's not possible to write this kind of conclusion and the first wrap up, second wrap up, or the third wrap up. These are the copybook concept from Fleek or Artharasa Barger. But definitely I will try to find any good article that nicely narrate this kind of research conclusion. And immediately I communicate to the convener and co-convener and share the article accordingly.
Sure, thanks, sir, in advance.
Okay. And after break, I want to listen from words from Madam. Actually, he pursuing his PhD or research work over on the women and environment. I want to listen some words from her name is Brinda. I hope. The topic was the women and environment. She is going pursuing his PhD or pursuing her research work on women and environment. And after break, I want to listen some words or observation or anything from her.
Okay, sir. So, Brinda ma'am, if you are there after the break, please be
Yeah,
there.
okay. Okay, ma'am. Okay, sir, sure.
Thank you. And sir, in the meantime, there is another question which was posted in the chat box. So, Keshav Vivek sir has written that can we use this if we want to turn our research work into a book, like the conclusion structure that you have talked about? Can it be used in case of a book? If
Definitely. Because Arthur Savarjan explored it, narrate it as a research conclusion for your book, for your research writing in journal, research report, PhD, and any edited volume. Actually, this is the staircase, this is the specific paradigm, and wrap up, first wrap up, second wrap up, third wrap up, and the final exploration. That's the schematic structure. And sir, you can use this structure for your book also. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
So after 15 minutes, we'll meet again.
Okay, so should we take a 15 minutes? Okay. So everybody, we will come back at 12:30, and I would request you not to leave the session. Let us just have a small break, and then we will go for the final question answer session. In the meantime, if you have any question that you want to post in the chat box, please feel free to post it, and we will start with the session right at 12:30.
Thank you.
So, good afternoon, everyone. We are again back after the lunch break, like a short break, actually.
Yeah, it was a lunch break.
No, sir, it was kind of a tea break, I can say.
Okay.
Okay. So, is there
a cup of tea, participants? You mention the coordinator. She told that it was a tea break, but not a single cup of tea.
So this is virtual. We can say, like we can send you stickers of teacups, but can't provide you that way. But of course, we will be more than happy if all of you, including the speaker today and all the participants, if you can visit the campus once, and we will love to host you here someday if you are free to.
Thank you so much for your kind invitation. And thanks again, the entire team of this faculty development program, the team of School of Mass Communication and what is the name of school? School of Communication?
So it is the School of Media and Communication.
Sorry, School of Media and Communication, the entire team. Now, any questions from any discussion?
Sir, I have not
in a nutshell, just keep in mind what is research writing and what are the relationship between research writing and conclusion. This is the aim of the lecture. Number two, the approach or the pathway. Under the approach, the first point would be the derivation of the conclusion, from where the concept of conclusion would be derived. Number one, review of literature. Number one, it was the review of literature, then argument and methodology or etc. Third one, what will be the schematic structure of the conclusions, that the specific para that define the argument, that define the importance, the significance, specific outcomes. This is the very first para, and the some kind of limitations and further scope. And finally, you will try to very carefully try to design the rooftop of the conclusion. After the schematic structure, there needs some wrap up. So wrap up on logical perspective, wrap up on human emotional perspective, wrap up on persuasive perspective. You may consider this the bouquet. Numbers of flower are there. According to your requirement, you could select one or two flower from the bouquet and wrap up over on your schematic conclusion. It's not mandatory that you should apply the human emotional, persuasion, rhetoric, logical, everything. Instead of that, you can select just one, but wrap up is mandatory, because the single conclusion unable to convince the editor. So to convince the editor and as well as the reader, definitely reader is your target audience, the wrap up is the mandatory, and there are numbers of strategies are there in a bouquet, like logical wrap up, persuasive wrap up, emotional wrap up, rhetorical wrap up. You may select one or two strategy and wrap up your conclusion accordingly. So this is a nutshell. Now you can raise any questions or etc.
Yes, sir. So I cannot see any question in the chat box. Participants have like showed their appreciation, thanking you, and I cannot see any question as of now. So I would request, since we are back after the break, so participants, if you want, you can please unmute yourself and ask a question to
So,
sir.
Ipshita, just I want to see some words from Brinda Madam. The point,
Yes.
the topic is very good. Women and environment.
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 Yeah.
And
So
another topic again, I want to say the community radio. Paramita ma'am, I hope you already studied the Pavarala's book and other books of community radio. And definitely you'll get one phrasing, that's the voice poverty. So you focused on the voice poverty. That will be your niche of communication research, the voice poverty. And you already mentioned, you rightly mentioned, not the already mentioned, that you want to focus on the media advocacy through the community radio. So keep in mind, in this perspective, the voice poverty would be another challenging element in your research work. Otherwise, you will be unable to define the community under your community radio's perspective.
Okay, sir. I'm taking a note of it. Thank you.
And Brindavan, if you want to input one or two important areas regarding the women and environment, just I want to listen from you. The topic is very good.
Yes, sir. Actually, I'm at a very beginning stage as to not really, I haven't confirmed with the course of my study. Actually, I've been planning one study is with regard to role of women in organic farming.
Okay, organic farming. Nice.
Yes. So,
what's the domain of research, ma'am?
Pardon, sir?
Domain of research, the geographical domain of your research?
It is
or it is a case study basis?
No, sir. No, sir. It's a Coimbatore, probably.
Okay, Coimbatore. So use the first-hand data instead of any case study.
Yes, yes, sir.
So here, anyone want to use the case study as their one of the important qualitative method? Anyone from the participants? Madam, which kind of correlation actually you want to establish through women and organic farming? Quality of farming or the marketing or the productivity? Which kind of correlation you want to set up?
Actually, like I've been planning to involve new media studies also into it, sir. So like a role of social media, like women, their accessibility to social media to promote organic farming activities or learn organic farming activities through social media, as well as market organic products online. And also women as
That's the degree of consumption of social media would help to enhance the productivity of organic farming.
It could be that also. So that is what I'm telling you. Like I haven't specifically chosen yet. So something to involve. I also have an idea about women being the
no, ma'am, is just a discussion. Just I want to know from you whether it's the women-centric development on organic productivity or the degree of or the parameter of consumption of social media. Which one you want to focus?
Consumption of social media, either related to learning farming activities, organic farming activities, or marketing, and also with regard to what to say, buying organic products on social media.
Very interesting topic. Very interesting topic. And considering the G20 scenario, it's very pertinent also, na? The organic farming.
So mostly with women, how they are able to access social media to learn organic farming, form groups, and also market their products online on social media. So women being the involved with food security and all, so they'll be able to
food security, regarding security, their financial security or the empowerment, which kind of security you want to say?
This is with regard to they are the providers, like major chain makers at home. So the lifestyle or the procuring the products, their preference, if it is social media, I want to know. So if it is easier for them, because organic products, you don't get it everywhere. So I would like to know their preference as to buy organic products.
Thank you, ma'am. And if I have two more participants from, maybe I am wrong, from West Bengal, Rajok Bandyopadhyay and Somen Das. Whether they present here?
Yeah, sir, Rajat sir is actually from Symbiosis. Like he has recently joined Symbiosis, and Rajat sir was a former colleague of ours here.
Oh,
so Rajat
very
sir,
good.
There, can you hear us?
Somen Das, Ayub is also from Bengal. So I'm very interested to talk about his topic or etc.
Okay.
Anyway.
So, Showman sir, can you hear us?
Paramita ma'am, topic is very good. Very good.
Sir, actually, Showman sir had texted us around 10:47 that he is working as
Okay,
an
okay, he's okay, he's okay, he's okay. Just all we are the colleague here want to interact with other colleagues. Please,
Yeah,
no
definitely.
explanation or anything.
Definitely.
Just I want to interact with my colleagues. Please.
Sir, if can I speak?
Yes, yes, ma'am. Please,
Yeah,
please.
sir, thank you for your feedback. Actually, I have just completed the title presentation, and there's a long way in front of me to go how to go about it. So, sir, in case we need your advice and suggestions, so if you can kindly share your email ID, that's not a problem.
Okay, sure. Ifshita, you can share. No advice, just interaction. Ma'am, all the participant faculty and the School of Adamas, here all we are the faculty. You could discuss. Okay, no advice. I am very much eager to discuss with your topic, ma'am, please. And I'm requesting Shita, please provide my email ID and this kind of PowerPoint presentation. And again, want to say the PPT, actually the conclusion, you can read the book of Flick or Dominic at this Arthur Savarjan.
Yes, so we also had a query in the chat box where Akriti ma'am has asked that can you share the name of the book by Arthur Savarjan sir?
Sure,
Is it Media and Communication Research Methods?
Yes, yes.
Okay. And
the PDF copy is available. I can share also.
Actually, I was also getting texts on WhatsApp requesting that, like, the participants are requesting, can they get your PPT? Like,
sure, definitely, definitely. Please share. It's a very simple PPT. The PPT and the email ID. Please.
Sure, sir. I'll share this with everyone.
And I expect some you will contact with me regarding your topic and the research program, research problem, so that we could interact. Some topic is very interesting considering this G20 summit, the organic farming. It is very important. And the scope of new media, whether it enhance the productivity or enrichment or the new approach of marketing. Again, want to say the voice poverty, considering the development society. Parmita madam select a beautiful topic, the voice poverty through the community radio. And madam, if you able to visit the Nityananda Janavani Center, and you will get the huge data, their program format or everything, number one. And the voice poverty, I hope already madam nicely stated. This is the
So your microphone has gone on mute. Please kindly unmute yourself.
Sorry. Yes. Just I want to say 2, 3, 4 topic again want to say. Paramita ma'am select a very good topic, that is the voice poverty, considering the developing society, more specifically the total Southeast Asian perspective.
So, sir, I just want to interrupt once.
Pardon, ma'am?
Sir, I just want to interrupt once. Sorry. Actually, my topic is community radio I mean, how it is impacted by the digital media. So, in that regard, voice poverty is something that that will come into consideration. That is what
how the community radio impact on digital media.
No, digital media's, I mean, how digital media is posing an opportunity or threat to the community radio. As I said at the very beginning of the session, sir, my topic is
then how will able, actually I'm not in position to comment over on, but then how will able to define the concept of community?
Sir, my concept, I mean, I can only give you a broader idea, sir, because I'm also working on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
But so, topic is very good. Topic is very good.
Sir, my idea is like, I want to study community radio. Yes. And what impact it is posing on community radio. I mean, the digital media is posing on community radio because, sir, the digital media has become very easily accessible to us. I have a small mobile phone, a smartphone, and I have access to all kinds of digital
Yes, ma'am.
content.
So from that perspective, just I want to know how you will restrict your community. The MR have its own definition. What is the community of the community media? What is the community of the community radio?
Yes,
so then, yes, then if you shift from concept from community to digital, the definition of the community would be changed accordingly. But MR defined community is the very narrow casting concept, considering their ethnic structure. So Puncha Village Nityananda Janavani Center, their programming format, and the Salesian radio in Shiliguri. So the community is very defined, community is very restricted. But in case of ma'am, digital media, the community is the very broad. Digital media deals with the mass and or the public instead of the community. Whereas the community media deals with the quote unquote community defined by the AMARC, and AMARC also considered the UNDP's conception of the community. So here just I am not in right person or the expert. So just I want to know how you could retain the purity of the concept of community over on community media and the digital media. The perspective of community, how could you define in your digital media? Digital media is very much broad. So the Salesian Radio Center in Shiliguri, if you want to broadcast this program, then why the people from Malda or the Bangalore or the Delhi or the Bengal or Kolkata, they will able to show their interest to listen this program. The same case in the Puncha village or another interesting community radio center is Deccan Development Society, DDS, in Medak district, Telangana. Maybe if you want to broadcast their program, it is the very limited 80 to 100 kilometers, less than 100 kilometers. So how this program will able to, that's not the able, how this program or importance of this program to broadcast through digital media?
Sir, I am just trying to make myself a bit clear. The programming of community radio is very niche, and they are focused on a particular
that is their, yes, ma'am. The rigidity of the community media is their strength. Nicely you mentioned. You nicely mentioned. This kind of rigidity. Yes. This is their only strength.
Yes, this is their what would I say, quote unquote, this is their USP.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
This kind of rigidity. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, this kind of rigidity. Absolutely, sir. Now, my idea, the concept that I'm trying to find out, I do not know if it is right, or I might at the end of the research end up saying that, yes, community radio is able to sustain its position very categorically, and I really want that to happen. Now, my idea is now the different kinds of programs that community radio is transmitting, and the different kinds of programs we get very easy access in our digital social medium. Whether people are, the listeners of community radio are moving towards that digital because those are easy, entertaining, and fast. So that is what I want to study. And whether this is at all creating an impact on the community radio station program. Sir, if I am being able to make you,
okay, yes, it will be better. It will be better. You can talk and discuss with your supervisor. It will be better. Okay, ma'am. And hopefully it will be very good work. Hopefully it will be very good work, because already you mentioned the media advocacy. Hopefully in future you will try to explore the capacity building program through these station, community radio station, or etc. And I'm I'm very sure it will be a very good research work.
Okay.
And again, your supervisor is the last person. He or she will actually guide over on this research problem, ma'am. So anyway, the topic was very good, and the environment, that topic is very relevant. More specifically, consider this G20 summit. G20 summit, this organic farming, it's very good topic. That topic is interdisciplinary also. Organic farming, that is the agricultural communication. Women studies, that is the kind of another area, and the media studies. Madam already mentioned the scope of social media or the new media, but I'm requesting all of the respected participants here, please try to clarify what is the concept of new media, digital media, and the social media. Vanjan Jik, D-I-J-K, is the author of the Information Society and the Network Society. In this book, you will get these three consecutive concepts. What is the new media, what is the digital media, and what is the social media. These are the three distinct approach of media and communication. Though Manuel Castle is explaining in another perspective, but I suggest just read the Van Jan Jik, D-I-J-C-K probably, and you will get some idea. So Brinda Madam topic is very nice. And again, want to say the children and media. Another program was development communication. He was from Central University of Bihar. What was his name, Ipshita? He pointed out he focused on the development communication.
So even I missed the name perhaps.
Okay, just a note the topic that actually he wants to doing some research work on development communication, and the words and sounds are quite interesting. The development communication. Sir is here.
Sir, if you're here,
sir,
please
you are
kindly
from Central University of South Bihar, I hope. Just I mentioned here, Central University of South Bihar, research area, development communication. Sir, you are here. Okay. So I hope it was a very, sir, no, is not here.
And sir, we have also a comment in the chat box where Jagrup sir has written that if you can name the book of Van Janjik that you were telling.
Okay, just give me 1 or 2 minutes. I'll just write it. Okay. Just give me 1 minute. The name of book was the Network Society. Publisher is the Sage.
Okay,
Network Society. Give me 5 or 10 minutes. Okay. Just give me 5 to 10 minutes. I will send the photograph of the book. The name of the book is the Network Society. Name of the book is the Network Society.
Network Society. Yes, I have got a Google book format of this book. So can I share the link in the chat box?
Sure.
Okay.
So I have no more question from our beloved participants.
And sir, the participants also want to know the name of the 2 books of Arthur Asa Berger. So
I will provide the complete PDF copy.
Oh, you have, okay, sure, sir. Sure, sir.
Arthur Asa Berger PDF copy, I will provide you.
Okay, so sir will share.
Just you send me an WhatsApp the required elements. Number 1, the name of book written by Bhanjanji. Okay, name of books and the details of Arthur Asa, 2 consecutive book of Arthur Asa Berger, and 1 PDF format of Asa Berger. Okay. Just to mention, I will provide within half an hour.
Okay. So dear participants, once I get all the information from sir, I will surely share that in the WhatsApp group of FDP that we have for SOMC.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ipshita, and again, the total team, Mr. Shayok, I'm unable to recall that the whole team, the convener, co-convener, our beloved head ma'am, Navina ma'am, Sati Agarwal ma'am, Ornov, the whole team. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. And is there any other question that we can have? So all the participants are also thanking you in the chat box, so you can go through the comments.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
So it was our honor as well to have you here as a speaker.
And again, want to say there are at least 4 to 5 research topics are really vibrant.
Yes,
and I
yes.
hope within 1 and 2 years, it will get in the very good research publication.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, so before concluding the session officially, I would go for an official vote of thanks. So first of all, I would like to thank Dr. Rajesh Das sir, not only for being my teacher, but because for such an engaging session, everyone is thanking you because you had addressed to individual research thoughts that all the participants had. And we all had a great discussion format of session today, which we really looked onto as we were concluding these sessions. So sir had started with brainstorming session, to talking about the do's and don'ts of research. Then he moved on to the elements, how to write a research, then reasoning for conclusion, then inductive and deductive reasoning, then how to use RQ, when to use premise versus premise kind of conclusion. Then again, he talked about research methodology, how can we use rhetorics. So a varied number of points were there, and thank you so much, sir. And I will surely share all the documents that you will share with us. And
sure, I'll share. I'll share the
thanks.
name of book and the PDF copy. Sure.
Yes. And my special thanks to all the participants for being there, because I know that being there in a session on a working day, and that too for around 2 to 3 hours, is very difficult. So managing your work and being in this FDP and like continuously interacting is something that is really, I should thank you all for. And now my thanks to the convener and the co-conveners, our Associate Dean Sir, our Head of the Department, Shormila Koyal Madam, Shayok Sir, who are the joint co-conveners for the session, and the entire organizing committee, including Swati Ma'am, Ornop Sir, Lakshmi Ma'am, Momita Ma'am, Novina Ma'am, and special thanks to Indrajit sir and Shujoy sir. They are there doing live, recording the session, and thank you so much. So without their help and the help of our entire technical team, this wouldn't have been possible. So thank you everybody, and thank you if I'm like to anyone if I'm missing out your name, but the entire School of Media and Communication, thank you for organizing this session. So we officially conclude the session with your permission, sir, and we will soon see you in another session in the second half in post-lunch from 2:30. So thank you everybody for joining.
Thank you so much. Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much.